violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, I can still get shot by the police. I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, YouTube? It's a Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's get into the video.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Thomas.
And I'm Madison Wade. We begin tonight with breaking news out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. There has been another mass shooting. At least 3 people are dead inside a medical building in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Several more people have been shot. The shooter is now dead, according to Tulsa police. SWAT teams are working on getting everyone out of this area safely. Again, this all happening in Tulsa. We will keep following this story as we get any updates during the...
So, we ain't slowing down. At least they're covering this one. If that Uvalde thing didn't happen, I don't think that this would have got much coverage, okay? Because I'm seeing it kind of everywhere. Not really everywhere, but I'm seeing it around, okay? Major news networks are covering it, definitely. But, you know, a lot of these other mass shootings, we don't get any coverage on those. So, we'll see what the spin is.
The show and throughout the evening, we'll be sure to let you know right here on ABC 10.
And now to the latest on the school shooting in Texas. The Uvalde School District says they will not return to Robb Elementary School. Officials are now working on a plan for students to attend other schools. Meanwhile, today, funerals are being held for 10-year-old Jose Flores, teacher Irma, and her husband Joe Garcia, who died days later of a heart attack. There are also growing questions about the cooperation of the Uvalde City and School Police Department with state investigators. The Texas Department of Public Safety says the school police chief has not responded to them for days.
New tonight, a Granite Bay High School student was arrested after allegedly threatening to shoot his school. In a letter to parents, Granite Bay High School officials say they received a tip about the threats on Tuesday night.
Man, it's going crazy. Like, that Uvalde thing really sparked something, man. Like, and just to see how the police are handling it, or how they handled the situation and how they're handling it now. And then you got, I think it's like Ohio trying to arm teachers and stuff. Like, bro, just put more resource officers in the schools. Oh, but you can't because of defund the police.
Then they contacted Placer County Sheriff's Office, who went to the student's home and made the arrest. No weapons were found, and police believe students are safe. There's no ongoing threat, they say. They encourage those that see something to say something.
Another thing about arming teachers that I do want to say, like, y'all have seen the videos that I post. These kids are not playing with these teachers. You got 5-year-old kids beating up teachers. What happens if that teacher is armed? I'm telling you guys, these teachers cannot handle the smoke from these high school, even middle school students. Hell, even some elementary school students. So you need to put resource officers in there, grown men, you know what I mean, 200-pound plus with a strap, all right? Put 3 or 4 in the schools and I guarantee there won't be any more school shootings.
Home and made the arrest. No weapons were found, and police believe students are safe. There's no ongoing threat, they say. They encourage those that see something to say something.
Multi-floor facility, hundreds of rooms, hundreds of people. It was complete chaos as people ran out. And then we did a methodical floor-by-floor search, looking at every room people were hiding. We were able to get them out safely.
A gunman kills 4 people on a hospital campus in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the latest in a series of deadly mass shootings across the country. You just heard a Tulsa police sergeant describing a swift response by officers.
Investigators say the gunman took his own life, and now they're trying to figure out a motive. News 8's Amisha Ramsey picks up the story with what we know about the attack so far. Amisha?
Right now, around 10 people are recovering from injuries, according to Tulsa police. They were expected to survive. Now, all this happened yesterday afternoon. According to authorities, officers responded within 3 minutes to the Natalie building at St. Francis Hospital.
Wow. I mean, you're not even safe in the hospital. Okay? Ooh. This it's going off, man. It is going off. And if you see this dude who shot up the hospital, that man looked whacked out. He looks whacked out. And apparently he killed his doctor, you know, a guy who had treated him before. And that just goes to show, man, you can patch some of these super gremlins up and they'll still get on demon time.
Police say they found the gunman dead and several victims on the second floor. Police say the suspect brought 2 guns, a rifle, and a handgun. The mayor of Tulsa spoke about the officers' training and how they moved quickly to the situation.
I also want to express our community's profound gratitude for the broad range of first responders who did not hesitate today to respond to this.
Investigators haven't released a motive, but say.
Yeah, those were shots at the Uvalde police. Okay. These guys didn't hesitate. Thankfully so. The shooter killed himself. And this is just a cycle I guess we're going to have to start seeing. You know, and I mean, it's been happening. But in hospitals, this is like some Joker stuff.
The suspect went to the hospital with purpose. It's not clear if the 4 people were killed, either medical staff, patients, or visitors. Now, at this time, authorities have not identified the victims. They say the suspect is a man between 35 and 40 years old. St. Francis Healthcare System, which runs the hospital, says some offices will be closed for the rest of the week. Reporting in the studio, Misha Ramsey, Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.
Several people were killed in a shooting spree at a medical building in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Wednesday, the latest in a series of recent mass shootings to rock the United States. Local police said the gunman, who was armed with a rifle and a handgun, also fatally shot himself. The suspect's identity and possible motives are so far unclear.
So I got word that the suspect's identity is Michael Lewis. And he, you know, killed Dr. Preston Phillips, Dr. Stephanie Hewson, Amanda Green, and William Love. So RIP to them. It's wild, though.
Tulsa Deputy Police Chief Eric Dalglish said police arrived on site at St. Francis Hospital 3 minutes after receiving a call about the shooting. They made contact with the victims and suspect 5 minutes later.
16:52, 4:52 hours, our dispatch received a call of an active shooter at the Natalie Medical Building at 6457 South Yale Avenue. We had officers arrive at the location at 4:56, so a 3-minute response time. And
good, 3 minutes. Man, if Uvalde police would have, I mean, they responded once and then he started shooting at them, they retreated. But if they would have just took him out right then and there, this could have been, I mean, I'm not going to say this Tulsa situation would have been prevented, but it wouldn't have been the same situation. It's just so crazy how they handled that. I'm still stuck on that, bro. The stand down, it was like a stand down order. They said the officer's wife was in there and they wouldn't let him go breach the premises. It's crazy.
Made contact with victims and the suspect at 5:01, and that was them making their way to the second floor. The officers that did arrive were hearing shots in the building, and that's what directed them to the second floor.
Police responses have come under increased scrutiny after a man gunned down 19 children and 2 teachers in a Uvalde, Texas school classroom last week, while officers waited outside for nearly an hour. Recent mass shootings have also reignited debates around gun control in the country. The incident in Uvalde came 2 weeks after another in Buffalo, New York.
Yep, and I think the reason why the Uvalde Police Department didn't go in there is because they were thinking about Buffalo, and they were like, yo, that dude, he killed a security guard, and he was geared up, armored, and they probably thought Salvador Ramos was on the same stuff, but He had weapons, but he wasn't geared up like the guy in Buffalo, okay, Peyton Gendron. He wasn't geared up like Buddy right here. So, man, what can you say, bro?
Where a white gunman killed 10 people at a supermarket in a black neighborhood.
Good evening. We are coming on the air tonight with breaking news about yet another mass shooting to tell you about. Breaking news out of Oklahoma. Details still unfolding. But here is what authorities tell us right now. Tulsa police saying 3 people are dead and multiple others were injured. It happened at a medical building on the campus of St. Francis Hospital in Tulsa. Police are saying a man with a rifle made his way into the facility and up to the 2nd floor. Officials are saying at this hour the shooter is also dead. I want to turn to Rahima Ellis, who's been following these details as they're just unfolding a few moments ago. Rahima, what have you learned?
Well, Savannah, we're finding out more by the moment. As you point out, the details are still coming in. But police are telling us, as you pointed out, this afternoon, it was a man with a rifle who entered that facility called St. Francis Hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and started shooting. Police, as you say, believe at least 3 people have been killed and multiple others wounded. Authorities say the gunman went to the 2nd floor, but it's not clear, they say, because it's too early to know why he chose that location. Police say the shooter is dead. It was not immediately clear if he was shot by officers or if he took his own life. Authorities are still clearing the facility room by room to make sure there are no more threats or possible victims. But they say it's no longer an active shooter scenario. As you point out, it comes just days after 19 students and 2 teachers were gunned down at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, and just 2 weeks since 10 people were killed at a grocery store in Buffalo, New York. Savannah?
All too familiar, Rahima.
And for the 8th consecutive night, we start this evening's broadcast covering a shooting.
Wow.
Another one. In a nation still reeling from massacres in Buffalo and Texas, it has happened yet again. This time on a hospital campus in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Authorities say the suspect carried a rifle and a handgun into a medical building next to the hospital and opened fire.
The officers that did arrive were hearing shots in the building, and that's what directed them to the 2nd floor. Right now, we have 4 civilians that are dead. We have 1 shooter that is dead, and right now we believe that is self-inflicted. Officers have not been interviewed, but we're certain that's a self-inflicted gunshot wound on his part.
This latest bloodshed comes after the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, where 19 children and 2 teachers were brutally killed last Tuesday. Newly obtained video shows that attack unfolding. We can see officers moving toward the school as terrified children tried to escape. We're also learning new details from Uvalde's mayor, who says he heard a negotiator trying to reach the gunman on the phone.
What?
The only person I had communication when the negotiator was trying to get the shooter on the phone and so forth, I was in the room. No, he wouldn't answer. They tried.
What? So they tried to call him instead of going in. Tried to negotiate with this madman. Wow. So that's what they spent that hour doing?
That is every number they could find that he was associated with. The moment he went in that classroom, they started calling for him. His main goal was to try to get this person on the phone.
The mayor also says he does not think the negotiator knew that there were children inside the school desperately calling 911 at that time. And there are still many, many questions surrounding the Uvalde School District Police Chief, Pete Arredondo. He has now been criticized for waiting too long to send in officers, and there have been reports he's no longer cooperating with state investigators. He denied that report today.
Just so everybody knows, we've been in contact with DPS every day, just so you all know.
They say, they say that you're not cooperating.
I've been on the phone with them every day.
They say you're not cooperating. So just 2 seconds.
Just so you know, we've been talking to them every day.
What is your reaction to
y'all have a good day.
Meanwhile, in Washington, House Democrats are pushing ahead with gun safety legislation. The Judiciary Committee expected to vote on a new measure tomorrow.
This is what they wanted, man.
And tonight, NBC News reporting a bipartisan, I wish I had a bell to ring, a bipartisan group of 9 senators has reached what they're calling a framework for a new gun measure. Earlier this evening, one of those senators described that process.
I've never seen more Republicans at the table willing to talk about changes in our gun laws than I do today. We're talking about a comprehensive package that will allow Republicans to take that step forward and learn that, in fact, there's political gain to be had in attaching yourself to the 90% of your constituents who want us to do something about gun violence.
This morning, we are learning about the suspect police say is responsible for a mass shooting at a Tulsa, Oklahoma medical clinic. So authorities now saying that man purchased the AR-style rifle used in that shooting the very same day.
Damn. Yeah, they finna do something. Like, you ain't gonna be able to just cop a strap like that. Like, there's gonna be... It's OV, bruh.
They also revealed the 4 victims, including a doctor who had performed back surgery on the suspect. Police say the gunman entered a building at St. Francis Hospital with a rifle. He opened fire before reportedly turning the gun on himself.
It's absolutely tragic that it happens in any town. When it happens in our town, I'm just glad that our officers got in there as quickly as they did.
Authorities also sending a bomb squad to a home in the Tulsa suburb area because of concerns the gunman could have planted a bomb there, but authorities were able to clear the scene.
Wow.
I'm here on the corner of MLK and Frederick Douglass, where a shooting just took place. And as you can see, it's a pretty rough area. So I'm basically risking my life reporting on this madness. So make sure you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Like the video, hell, share the video. And make sure you go ahead and leave a comment down in the comments section to continue the discussion on how we can find solutions to all this gun violence in the streets. I'm Jenquavius Jackson, here live, reporting from Atlanta, Georgia, BGZM News 17.
Since we first reported this at the top of the hour, the death toll in tonight's mass shooting in Tulsa has now climbed to 4, plus the shooter. Local officials spoke just moments ago. I want to go back to CNN's Joe Johns, who has the latest. What else did you learn?
We picked up a few more details from Deputy Police Chief, who briefed just a little while ago. Anderson, listen.
At 16:52, 4:52 hours, our dispatch received a call of an active shooter at the Natalie Medical Building at 6457 South Yale Avenue. We had officers arrive at the location at 4:56, so a 3-minute response time, and make contact with victims and the suspect at 5:01. And that was them making their way to the second floor. The officers that did arrive were hearing shots in the building, and that's what directed them to the second floor. Right now, we have 4 civilians that are dead. We have 1 shooter that is dead, and right now, we believe that is self-inflicted.
And Joe, I spoke to the city councilor there earlier tonight. He said the gunman may have been targeting a specific physician. Did the police say anything about that?
No, they didn't say anything further. What we do know is there have been persistent reports that the shooter went into the hospital looking for a specific doctor. It's not clear whether he found a doctor, the doctor he was looking for. The other thing I think it's important to say is authorities are not sure whether there were just regular people, patients in other words, and medical people, or both, who were actually shot in this situation there in Tulsa.
And I understand the police have yet to identify the suspect.
Correct. They have yet to identify him. However, they do seem to know his age. They say he is 35 years old, and that's about all they can say. They are not ready to positively identify the shooter.
All right, Joe Johns, appreciate it. Thanks.
Here we are, Tulsa, Oklahoma, another mass shooting. New details, 3 federal sources confirming to CNN that the gunman here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, purchased the AR-15 style firearm the day of the shooting, yesterday. We know that authorities received a 911 call just shortly after 4:50 p.m. local time. They arrived on the scene shortly thereafter. The call was about a man with a rifle. When officers arrived to the St. Francis Hospital complex behind me, they heard gunshots that led them to the second floor. They ran up there. As soon as they got there, the shooting suddenly stopped, police sources say. When the officers got into the area, they found the first victim, they found the next victim, and then they found the shooter, who apparently shot himself with a pistol. One person was shot at the center behind me, transported out, died en route. So a total of 5 dead, including the gunman. And yes, more details on the firearms we can now confirm.
So he shot himself with a pistol, and they keep mentioning the AR. I mean, he could have did the same damage with a pistol, though. That's why I don't get, like, yo, you can do the same type of damage with a pistol as you can with an AR. It just depends on what caliber. I mean, and the AR will help you with long range, but you in a hospital, really, how far are you shooting?
AR-15 style firearm bought the day of the shooting. There was also a handgun found on the scene. Both weapons were fired at one point or another, and sources tell CNN that the handgun was purchased on May 29th. So we're talking about a semi-automatic rifle and a semi-automatic pistol. But this was chaos on the scene. The building where the shooting took place, multi-story building, hundreds of rooms, hundreds of people inside. Witnesses describing chaos as law enforcement searched room to room trying to find survivors. Take a listen.
It's sad. It's so sad. I was coming to the doctor and I got my grandkids with me in this terrible scene. It's awful. It's sad. My daughter-in-law is from Buffalo, so now it's so close to home. It's not even safe if you come outside anymore, you know.
This really does happen. I mean, you see it on TV, but you don't think it's going to happen right in front of your eyes.
Exactly.
So now this is a wake-up call for my kids. Like, this can really happen anywhere. And
Yes.
it's very scary. You can't even go to a store. You can't even go to school.
Nope.
Now you can't even go to the doctor.
You see it on TV and literally happens right here. We know that the White House is following the situation. Joe Biden's been briefed. The president's been briefed on it. The Republican governor here, Kevin Stitt, tweeting out his prayers for the dead and the injured. But as you point out in the introduction, 233 mass shootings in America so far this year, including the one here in Tulsa, guys.
Gang violence and other kind of violence. So it is what it is.